A lot of our readers are budget-minded, and I wanted to know if you could tell us why pork is a good choice for those who are watching a budget.
That is an ideal question for me because number one, I'm a mom. Number two, with my small people, it's really important to me not only that I'm cooking them delicious meals that they will enjoy, but that I'm getting them involved in the process, but also that I'm not spending a fortune. So I want to talk to you about pork. Pork is a good option. Why? Even just this week, the USDA said it is 62% less expensive to buy a New York pork chop than it is to buy a New York beef steak. It is 64% less expensive to buy a porterhouse pork chop than it is to buy a porterhouse steak. So right away, you're saving a ton of money. And depending on how large your family is, that savings just increases. On porkbeinspired.com, throughout the summer, we're going to have a series of recipes that cater specifically to families like you and I and your readers who are budget-minded and cost-conscious, because all of those recipes fall into the category of being $10 or less for a family of 4.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. Can you give me an idea of some of the particular cuts that might be like the most budget-friendly?
Yes. I absolutely can, and I would love to actually talk about those cuts. And one of the things that's so great about those particular cuts is their names are changing, so they might not actually sound familiar to you. So we're talking about the New York pork chop, we're talking about the porterhouse pork chop, and the ribeye pork chop are all in that cost-effective, really budget-friendly option. And I imagine they sound kind of familiar, but not necessarily in the pork category.
Right, yeah. I haven't heard of them.
Okay, so they sound familiar because they sound like the names that you've traditionally heard with beef. And those new names are rolling out because we want our consumers, we want our families to understand that you're going to be cooking pork the same way that you have traditionally always cooked your beef. We have, as consumers, as families, been traditionally overcooking our pork. So not only this summer are you going to find the name changes, but on the labels, you're going to see some instructions. So cost effective and so much easier to prepare. 145 degrees is medium rare. So if you're using a meat thermometer, you're going to find that when you put that in there, 145 degrees, medium rare, 160 degrees is medium. Then you let it sit for about 3 minutes and you'll find that it absorbs its juices and you have a very tender piece of meat. I mentioned before those 10 recipes that will fall into that category of $10 or under. All of those recipes, as they roll out this summer, I've done the first one. I worked with the National Pork Board to create the first of those recipes. Really important to me because that's how I want to feed my family, not only that healthy and delicious, but also something that doesn't cost us a fortune. And I use all fresh ingredients. I sent my husband outside, he grilled the New York pork chop and just used a little bit of salt and pepper on the grill, and then I created the salsa inside, and it's a minted strawberry avocado salsa. So everything is fresh, everything from the farmer's market. All of the ingredients I used in the recipe were $3, just under $3. So I used red onion, a little bit of avocado, some strawberries, lime zest, lime juice, and a little bit of mint. And then we dice all those together, and I have to tell you that it's even something my kids loved. My children, my small people, are 7 years old, just turned 7, and my daughter will turn 9 in July, and they loved it. It's a beautiful dish, perfect for summer, and my kids love it.
Wow, that does sound really good. And that was done on the grill for the pork?
Yes, the pork was done on the grill, and then obviously the salsa is something I prepared in the kitchen, and it took me about 15 minutes to prepare it. And it was neat for me too because I was using ingredients that I don't regularly use. I mean, I don't cook with avocado all the time, and dicing mint is sort of a new process for me. So I was joking with my kids that I was looking things up on the internet, like how do you dice mint? What's the best way to dice mint? So getting them involved in the process is always so much more fun because then they're more apt to eat things that they've never tried before.
That's a great idea. Can you give us any other ideas of things that kids might like with pork?
Oh, there are all kinds of things. The recipes are all on porkbeinspired.com is probably the best place to go. But I have another recipe. The next, I'll give you sort of a sneak peek. It's actually a wrap. So you don't always have to have pork as a chop. You can cut it up and try different things. So this next one that I have is actually a basil corn wrap. So that'll be one of the next ones that falls into that same category of being $10 and under. And as I mentioned, they will all roll out over the course of the summer. And they're all created by moms like me who have that budget-minded, family-friendly idea in mind. We want our kids to eat, but of course we don't want to spend a fortune every time we head to the grocery store.
Okay, and speaking about not spending a fortune at the grocery store, if you do see a great sale on pork, is pork a meat that can be frozen for later use?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great. Are there any tips for that, or just basically rewrap it and throw it in the freezer?
You know what? My best bet on that would be to have you head to the website, because that's not my level of expertise. So I would head to the website to get the best advice on freezing and different preparations for that. And again, that's porkbeinspired.com.
Okay, that sounds great. And it sounds like with grilling, I know when I grill, I usually end up making a lot of extras. It's always hard to plan for a party. Are there things that are good to make with leftover pork? Like, say, if you have a leftover piece of pork roast or pork chop?
My husband will eat anything as a leftover. So I know that we've put it in salads before, because we love leftover, like we love making salads with leftover meat. So that's obviously a good, healthy option. You know that pork is obviously a very lean cut of meat. Anything that you find with the word loin in it is going to be your leanest cut of pork. And then also we have the New York pork down here. And if you cut off any excess fat that you see on any individual piece that you find, then you're making that piece of meat even that much more lean.
Oh, that's a great tip. I hadn't thought of it, of how lean it could be and how healthy it could be as a choice. I also was going to ask, as far as, summer coming and summer parties, are there good ideas of how to prepare pork for a crowd, or how to guess or estimate how much we should prepare for, say, a group of 10 or a group of 20? How do you go about judging how much to make?
That's a really great question, and I can't tell you the last time that I actually prepared for that many people. Fortunately, my small people, I have cut off the large parties that we have in our home, birthday parties, because they're getting a little bit older. So I'm going to direct you to the website for that too, because I know they've got a ton of great recipes, and they even go into the larger amounts there. So that's porkbeinspired.com, just one more time.
Okay, that sounds great. Anything else you have to share, a general pork tips or suggestions?
Yeah, there's one more thing I actually do. Yes, there's one more thing I do want to share with you. If you head to the website starting next week, there is a game online. It's called the Pork Chop Drop. And every time you play that, then the first time you play, you'll be entered to win the grand prize, which is $1,000. And then also when you play, you're opening up new special recipes and also coupons. And the coupons are good for anywhere that you're purchasing pork, which of course adds up to additional savings every time you are buying.
Well, that's awesome. We love coupons, so thanks for that tip.
You're welcome.
Thanks so much for answering our questions today. I appreciate it.
You are so welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.